Yes, you are on the platform. Now to another bit of madness. The private members bill introduced or floated by New Zealand First as a kind of electoral payoff to all the cookers who didn't have anyone else to vote for at the last election. And this bill would have a call for a national referendum. God, would there be anything stupider to have a national referendum on? A national referendum on whether decisions about the fluoridation of public water supplies should be devolved to local councils and local bodies. Yep, I know. This is a huge issue for most of you. It's driven by people who, I don't know, practice Reiki and do massage and aromatherapy and believe in crystals. And it's been this kind of whack job conspiracy theory for a long time that fluoride, and we added, fluoride doesn't occur naturally in water in New Zealand, and we have minuscule amounts of it added to many municipal water supplies because it prevents caries or tooth decay, particularly in children, and has massively and has proved over many years to have massive beneficial effects in dental hygiene, saving people money and saving people from misery, the misery of dental decay and dental problems. I've always been amazed that dentists who do well out of dental decay and dental problems have been selfless enough as a body to support fluoridation, which kind of is aimed at putting them slightly out of business. So we are now having this piece of madness due to political expediency by New Zealand First. Tania Unkovic, who's the sponsor of the bill, will not come on with us, will she, Ben?
No, she will not, no.
She will not. That's funny. Nice woman, Tania, but this is crazy. You probably know where I stand on this. I did a poll yesterday on Twitter, still running, and boy, it got them going, got the old rabbit hole radio people going. I said, who are more cooked? Anti-vaxxers, anti-fluoridators, 9/11 inside jobbers, or chemtrailers. Actually, chemtrailers won, but the fact is you could draw a Venn diagram of those groups and it would just be one circle. Okay, so you know where I stand, but let's go to an expert. That's what we do in the media, isn't it? We are joined now by phone by Robin Whyman, and Robin is a policy advisor at the Dental Association of New Zealand. Robin, welcome to the program. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Good morning, Sean.
All right, Robin, just for those who don't know, the Dental Association represents and, well, I don't know, advocates for who?
For dentists. So we represent about 98% of the dentists in New Zealand.
Wow.
And, we have a role in advocating for dentists, but we also have a strong role in advocating for good oral health as well.
Yeah. And, okay, let's go straight to it. Is fluoridation of water a beneficial thing for New Zealanders?
Yes, it is. The studies that have been done over many years show that people who are drinking fluoridated water have a benefit in terms of less decay and less severe decay over time. The effect of that, there was quite a big international piece of research done at the end of last year, looking at all of the studies over a long period of time, and showed that actually that effect had reduced a bit since the 1970s because we also use fluoridated toothpaste these days. But basically that effect remains, and we see it in New Zealand. When the last oral health survey was done, it was about a 20 to 40% better off if you were drinking fluoridated water.
Okay. What is the spread of fluoridated water in municipal supplies in New Zealand at present?
Just above 50%. So for a long time it sat around 51%. But of course the government in 2021 changed the legislation, which is this issue now around the Director General able to direct councils. Some of the councils have started to fluoridate, and if all of those directives come into action, and when they do, because some of them have still got dates to come into effect, we'll get up to 60%. And we could potentially, if we got to all of the councils, or got all of the councils that fluoridating, we could probably get up.
So it's not compulsory for councils to fluoridate?
It's not compulsory unless they have a directive from the Director General of Health. But many councils over many years have been fluoridating anyway, and that all remains in effect, and they can choose to do that still.
Right. Okay. So we haven't come to shove yet. We're still at push, if you know what I mean, in terms of.
Well,
Look, you've got to understand this. For some people, this is all about personal sovereignty, and I won't be compelled, and I'm a sovereign citizen. That's But you're telling me that at the moment there is no compulsion, but half the places in New Zealand decide it's a good idea.
Over a long period of time. Well, those 50% wouldn't have been part of the directives. They would have been councils making decisions over, some of them, decades. I mean, it started in the 1950s in New Zealand, first of all in Hastings,
Okay. Does New Zealand have or its water supply have a specific or greater need for fluoride than other places in the world? And I note that from my memory, the effects of fluoride came from a place in the States or places where there was high fluoride in the water. People had discoloured teeth, but bugger all decay.
Yeah, that's right. The discovery of fluoridation having an effect, or fluoride in the water having an effect, came from Grand Rapids in Michigan, I think it was, where they discovered that the teeth were going a bit brown, which is not what you want. And that was because there were high levels of fluoride. And when they brought that down over a number of studies, they found that there was sort of a sweet spot, if you like, which is this 0.7 to 1, but more close to 0.7 parts per million in the water. In New Zealand, none of our water supplies have that naturally occurring. They all have a little bit because it's there in the rocks and it comes through, but no water supply in New Zealand is naturally fluoridated at the levels we need to prevent decay. So the only way we can get there is if we add fluoride to the water supply.
But we add it in minuscule quantities.
Yeah, the target range is, for most councils, is 0.7 to 0.8 parts per million is where they're going.
0.7 to 0.8 per million.
It's tiny amounts, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it is the position of the association that this is a health measure which is beneficial in terms of the oral health of New Zealanders.
Yes, absolutely. We're convinced, we're persuaded strongly by the evidence that it improves oral health, and we see the effects of poor oral health in terms of decay, both at the lesser end, where people are having to spend money on fillings and things, which makes it hard enough on its own, but we see some very severe infections and people getting very sick. So absolutely we support fluoridation as a part of the health tool, but it's only one thing to prevent decay.
It's in the toolkit. Okay.
That's right. That's the way of putting it.
And I hate to do this to you, but I want to ask you, or I want to put to you some of the arguments, and I use the term bloody loosely, against fluoridation, and see if you can address those. First up, it hardens the pituitary gland, and it's like a poison.
Sorry, I missed the first bit, Sean.
It hardens the pituitary gland and leads to loss of mental ability.
Well, two things there. The issues around the pituitary, I don't think there's any evidence showing that that's the case at all. The issue around intellectual development is one of the current controversies. There are a number of studies from around the world that have looked at this issue of IQ in children. They are not convincing. They certainly don't come back down to the levels of 0.7, 0.8 parts per million water. There may be some evidence at high levels of fluoride in the water, but even that's controversial at the moment because a lot of those studies are confounded by, well, what was the lead level and what was the other confounders, what were the social conditions that those children were living in. And most of those things aren't properly handled in those studies. So
I have had a bunch of people, mostly who watch this outfit called Rabbit Hole Radio, pointed me to some lawyer and some case in the States recently which apparently proves that it's all a great conspiracy. Are you aware of this case and what it decided? Yeah. Does it have any relevance here?